Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the West End Imps show. We're back to review that drab 0-0 game against the MK Dons that took place yesterday afternoon. I'm always joined by Mr. K. Chris, how are you?
Good morning, mate. Yeah, I am all right, thank you. Yeah, not bad at all.
Good.
I think I'm one of the lucky ones that managed to not go to the game yesterday.
I think the less said about the game, the better. Before we do obviously get onto the game, Chris wasn't there, so we are sort of going to do a bit of a role reversal this week. Before we do get onto the game, though, there were two bits of news I wanted to certainly touch on. Lewis Montsma was one of them. He's been training / playing for about a month now. Travelled with the matchday squad yesterday, which, when you consider his last game was on January the 8th last year against Oxford, this is a massive moment for Lewis, I think. And also a massive plus to see him out on the grass, see him training with the team. Obviously, me and the fun bus were still at the pub at this point, but I can imagine it was great to see Lewis out and about. He's going to be massive. He's going to be such a big contributor between now and the end of the season, isn't he?
I hope so, yeah. I think it's going to be like having a new signing in January, isn't it? And I think completely agree with what Mark Kennedy said in his post-match yesterday, that there's not many teams that are going to get a player of the calibre of Lewis Montsma in January. So, yeah, just really thrilled to see him kind of back and getting minutes under his belt behind doors. And hopefully at some point over the next sort of maybe 4 games or so, we might start seeing him integrated back into the first team. But yeah, I mean, we know how good he is, and I just hope that he is fully back. You know, I think Kennedy was very careful and saying he won't be rushed back, which is absolutely the right thing. Nasty injury, isn't it? And a year out, it's going to take him a good while to get back up to speed and get back to match fitness. But just a brilliant sight to see him back and back in and around the first team and the squad.
Yeah, because if you think about it, he's done his sort of period rehabilitation. He's been in with the fans in the stands multiple times, which shows that he really gives a crap about the football club, which I really like as well. We also had a bit of breaking news that maybe some people were expecting before yesterday. That was a new signing coming through the door, 1:45. I think they announced it at that time, so it wasn't a shock that it was going to be on the team sheet. Mide Shadipo, Chris, comes in on loan from QPR. He's had 2 loan spells so far in League One. One very productive and very good one with Oxford United, and then one where he's gone up to Sheffield Wednesday last year, and perhaps he's sort of fallen part of the consequence of going to a team where the squad is a whole lot better. Didn't get so many minutes, spent a long time injured. But he's made 11 appearances in the Championship for QPR this season, which shows he must be of some, calibre. What do you make to that loan signing? Because he looks all right, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think so. I think it can only be viewed as a positive. Good to get another player that can, be out on the wings. Looks like, I'm not overly familiar with him. Like you say, he had a decent spell with Oxford, not so. Didn't kind of live up to it at Wednesday. I'm looking forward to seeing him. I think that pace that he's got and that direct style will suit how Kennedy views the team moving forward. So hopefully for the remainder of the season, he'll be a decent addition.
Should take the burden off Jack Diamond as well, hopefully, if he's going to get a consistent run of games. Right, lineup time, Chris. This is my final time of taking the lead this episode. We were to a back 4, didn't we? It looked like 4-2-3-1 to me. I think Mark couldn't later confirm that in the post-match press conference, where I'm trying to think of all the changes that happened. Jacko certainly came back in. Teddy came back in to start. I don't think he started at Charlton. No, he didn't. And that was about it from what I could gather.
Yeah. I think when I first saw the team sheet, is this going to be with... I was initially thinking, was Bishop going to play in the sort of right wing back role, which he's played before, but very much, like I say, I wasn't at the game, so it was radio for me and Twitter refresh. But you guys messaged me and were like, no, this is definitely a back 4. So it looked like 4-2-3-1, didn't it? And I think that's something that I like to see. I don't know what it was like for you guys seeing it actually live, but on paper that should be giving us more opportunities going forward. And I'm particularly keen for Mandroiu to start playing in that more central role, because I think that's where he sees himself. I think that's where Mark Kennedy sees him long term, and I think that's where we need that kind of creative spark. He's not a pacey player, but he's great at reading the ball, reading the game. Sorry, and his kind of skill on the ball. So yeah, apparently it panned out to be 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, I'll touch on the first half quickly, because obviously I think you'll only listen to the second half. Well, that sums up the first half. Not a lot happened. To be honest, as you can tell with the possession stats, MK had nearly like 80% of the ball. They trebled our number of passes nearly. Look at me getting all statsy. It was just a bit dull.
You're going to start GC.
Oh yeah, literally. But to be honest, I don't think they had one shot in the first half that went wide of the goal. From what I can remember, they also didn't do a lot attacking. They just kept the ball around the back and played it nice in midfield. They had opportunities if they worked the ball maybe a little bit quicker, but maybe that will come for MK in the next couple of weeks under this new manager. I'm not too sure. We, on the other hand, had a couple of good moments going forward. We had a few corners that failed to beat the first man yet again. We had a couple of opportunities. The keeper made a save, I think, in the first half. But let's be honest, it was drab. It was boring. And to be honest, I turned to Luca and said, I can't believe we've actually watched 45 minutes of football, because it just flew by like that. So, yeah, go on, Chris. Take the lead, sir.
Well, I mean, like I say, it wasn't a game. So listening in, it sounded like it was pretty much a very dire, very boring, uneventful match throughout the whole 90 minutes. What were your thoughts in terms, because I know, and I think he's come under a kind of little bit of soft criticism to an extent, Mr. Kennedy, with his post-match comments. From your perspective, watching the game live, he was sort of saying that he actually felt we played well. It was positive. We were much more of a threat going forward. That, to me, on the radio, didn't come across at all. What was it like for you guys in the stands?
Yeah, didn't come across either watching it live, to be honest, Chris.
Interesting, isn't it?
I think we went there definitely not to lose the game, and I don't think we showed enough intent to try and win the game either. Defensively, I thought we were fine. They had one opportunity in the second half that they probably should have scored. Really good. I think they brought a lad on, Dennis, who they signed from Norwich in the summer. He came on and made a difference for them. Put a lovely ball across the 6-yard box, and Mo Issa, maybe 12 months ago, scores that. But fortunately for us, we're in 2023 and not 2022. And then going forward for us, we just didn't create anything. I can remember we had one shot in the second half. The keeper made a really good save. We come out fairly brightly. We penned them back in for a couple of minutes. But to be honest, if you're an MK Dons fan, you never thought that Lincoln were going to score, and you never thought that MK were going to score. It was just one of those games that I said to Luca, I said that I wondered if MK Dons realised that they've got a game of football to play, because all they seemed to do was ping it round the back, and the ball would almost never leave their defensive third, which makes me wonder how on earth MK Dons fans watch that every week. But there was I don't think there was any intent from Lincoln to win the game.
Okay, can I just ask you then on that point? What was it that meant that we weren't pushing forward and that we weren't getting that more attacking threat? Was it just the personnel that maybe we just are one or two short of being able to play that way, or was it were we quite kind of passive and lethargic?
Yeah, it to be honest, it was up there with some of the other away performances of the season, even though we've got a point. I think about Cambridge especially. It looked to me offensively a lot like Cambridge. We didn't really look like scoring at all. We had the personnel on the pitch, I think, especially second half when Shadipo came on. We had Danny, Teddy, obviously Jack on the pitch as well. We had the offensive players on there, but it just seemed that they refused to go and cut the throat of MK Dons. they just looked like they weren't willing to get forward, and I'm not sure whether that's come from the manager or whether that's the players not being bothered or whatever.
Do you think that's more of a mindset going into yesterday's game as we just can't lose today?
Well, yeah, I think so, but I don't think we were ever, if we were perhaps wanting to be a bit more adaptable, we would then see that MK Dons didn't offer a threat at all in the first hour, and then say, right, last half an hour, let's actually go and win the game, shall we, and just see how it pans out. But even the last half an hour, we were, very abject, and to be honest, when the ball went up for 6 minutes of injury time, it was pretty much all MK. They could have had a penalty. I mean, I didn't particularly think it was, but a lot of their fans are saying they could have had a penalty, and they had the ball most of the time. So maybe their plan of keeping possession really stifled us, and we didn't really know what to do. Maybe we had the ball for such a short period of time in a new formation, obviously in this 4-back that we're not used to. We weren't able to pick up the patterns like we were. Say we were playing 5-back and we had less of the ball, I think we would have known who can go, who can stay back. But with the 4, I didn't think they knew who could go and who could drop back. So, look,
I was just going to ask you on that point on the formation, because when I saw the team lineup, my gut instinct, and tell me what it was like from you there, because I felt when we switched at Charlton into that 5-3-2. We offered a lot more going forward. We had players in the box. We looked like we could be quite threatening, particularly, that last 20 minutes or so when we were going for it. But coming across on the radio, it very much was like MK Dons are there for the taking, but we just weren't doing it. And I wonder if it was, like you've touched upon there, that kind of, this is not a new formation. We've played it previously, but it's been a few months that we've sort of settled into a 3-4-3. And I was half expecting it to be the 5-3-2 formation that we finished Charlton with.
I would agree. I just think they didn't know what they were doing in terms of maybe they've not worked on it so much. Definitely, I can understand trying to be more offensive, going to a team in the bottom half of the table, especially the bottom 4. But I just never thought they really got going offensively, which is a real shame because, scoring goals is a massive problem of ours, and we are severely missing Ben House for me. Look, Tom Hopper is a lovely, lovely guy, really good bloke, good character around the training ground, I can imagine. However, is he perhaps better coming off the bench? Maybe perhaps that might be a better option for Hops. I know he's the centre forward, I know he's the captain, but Ben House I would back to finish a 1-on-1 chance, and Tom Hopper this year I don't think I would, unfortunately.
And I think as well, our high press is significantly improved with Ben House in the side. For me, his work off the ball, his reading of the game off the ball, his ability to consume the time of 2 or 3 defenders at all times makes a huge and opens up space for the other players, doesn't it? Can I ask you 2 final quick questions? Because I can't believe we've got to nearly 13 and a half minutes talking about a drab 0-0 draw. I was interested to know how Harry Boyes was, because I was really impressed with him at Charlton, but now he's playing more of a left back rather than left wing back. So just whether he coped under that transition.
I thought he did well again. I thought he was one of our better performers defensively. Perhaps some of the reviews from Forest Green fans and other League One journalists was stated that perhaps he wasn't the best defensively. I think he sort of showed his defensive capabilities. They didn't get down that right hand side of there as much. But going forward, I think he's brilliant. Him and Jack Diamond down the left hand side in the first half caused MK a few problems. And some of the balls into the box that you put in, I think he was on a different page. I think he was on a better page than what our attackers were, if that makes sense. I think he was putting balls in that were a lot smarter in terms of where he put them. I think he needs to start being a bit involved a bit more on the set pieces on the other side of the pitch, perhaps, because it was a real shame that I don't think we beat the first man. It's not a criticism of Max, well, maybe it is, but I think he needs to be able to beat the first man. And if we put Harry in, maybe an outswinger might be a little bit better, But no, Harry Boyes, another impressive performance, and I'm looking forward to those who haven't seen him yet, seeing him live on Saturday, because I think he's a real talent, and I think he's going to be a big part of the team. Obviously, the man who he came in to replace yesterday, he also got an assist for Forest Green to Jordan Garrick. So,
the reason I kind of asked, not only because I wanted to hear how he played, but I just also was quite interested that we've signed a specialist left wing back, which we previously haven't had, and then his second game we've gone to flat back four, and I just and how Mark Kennedy spoke after the game, it sounded like that might be something we look at formation wise moving forward, and it just strikes me as a little bit odd that we've let a left back like Jamie Robson go, who I always thought was a decent player. And no criticism on Harry Boyes at all, because I think he's a really good player as well. But it's just interesting how we've brought a left wing back and now potentially might be looking at playing just as a left back. I guess I was a little bit kind of confused, maybe just overthinking it. But and then finally, just thinking about the new boy, Shadipo, how did he have enough time? Did he have any opportunity to make any kind of impact?
I don't think he touched the ball, Chris, to be honest. Not that I can tell. That's not a criticism of his. Obviously, only technically, as far as we're all aware, came in the building 15 minutes before the team was announced. I think he's been in the building maybe a little bit longer. But you could tell he wasn't quite up to the patterns and the speeds, especially because I think, it sort of comes into my point that I don't think the rest of the team really understood the patterns of the four back. I don't think Mide had his strongest performance. I think there's definitely a lot more to come from him. He's quick. I can tell you that for now. He's pretty quick. He got back and helped Harry Boyes out a couple of times on the left hand side. But yeah, offensively, I think he put one cross in that went straight out of play. Obviously we weren't great. It wasn't our best attacking performance, so it's probably not fair to judge him on that. But I think maybe once we've done with the Cambridge and Burton games, if he gets a consistent amount of minutes, then we might be looking at a fairer rating. But I can't say I wasn't impressed, but it was there. It was about. That's all I can really say.
Not of his own fault that perhaps he wasn't able to get into the game.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I mean, I obviously don't think I've got a great deal more to say or ask about the game beyond just I'm not going to put a man of the match because I don't think it's fair to without watching the game live. But who would you have pulled out as your man of the match following yesterday's game?
Now this is going to sound repetitive, but Jack Diamond. Honestly, because Jack Diamond by far. Look, I know he's maybe perhaps looked a little bit disinterested in a couple of recent games, but yesterday I think I could tell that he cared and he wanted to be there. Definitely by far and away our biggest attacking threat. I don't think MK Dons were able to double up on him. That's how good. Well, they did, but it didn't work because he was that good. Constant amount of times he dragged us up the pitch with his runs. What I really liked yesterday was that when they had a corner, Jack Diamond was stood on the halfway line, dragging two of their defenders out so we didn't have so many bodies in the box. I thought that was really tactically intelligent, whether that's come from Mark and Danny or whether that's a Jack thing. But I thought he was the real attacking force, and if we were going to score a goal, it was going to be through Jack Diamond. Played really, really well. I say that every week, don't I? But not a lot of people see it. But
So, okay, final question from me then. Do you feel, and I know how my personal opinion is in terms of the result, but do you think it's 1 point gained or 2 points dropped?
That's a real difficult one because based on the performance and the way the match went, I think it was a point gained. If any team were going to win the game, it was going to be MK Dons for me. So, I know I go along with the manager's agenda of it. It's a point, but as long as we didn't lose, it's another game we've not lost. It's a clean sheet. Another one we didn't have. I think we've got maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 clean sheets this year, which is a vast improvement on last year.
And I think that's a really good point because it is a clean sheet, and we have kind of formed quite a strong, resilient back line, which seems to have just dribbled away a little bit in the last couple of games with some quite poor results, and potentially you could question some of the defending. So I felt it was good to get a clean sheet, and I guess you know, in the grand scheme of things, a point away from home is not the end of the world. I think it's the next 2 games for me are incredibly important, both at home, both against teams that are around us. And I kind of feel like a minimum of 4 points is what I'm expecting from those. And if after the Cambridge game we've got 7 points from the last 3 games, everything's changed then. Everything's different. We're probably, you know, maybe 9-10 points away from relegation. So yeah, I think it's a really important remainder of January for me.
Yeah, I would wholeheartedly agree. We've got to see how we get on against those 2 teams, because if we beat them both, then we're looking a little bit rosier, aren't we? And with another addition or 2 in the building, then I think we're going to be absolutely fine. But yeah, I think that's going to draw a conclusion to the episode. I think we have been going on a fair while. Somehow we've spoke 20 minutes about a drab 0-0 draw. God knows how we've managed that. But thank you, Chris, for taking over the reins of Quizmaster today. You've done really well, I think. So let us know how you thought that went. Obviously, there will be games that Chris sometimes can't get to, or I won't get to. So we'll have to see how we go with that. But as I always say, please do make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We are trying to reach 1,000 subs. So if you could drop us a like, drop us a subscribe as well. I'm pretty sure now it's out in the public as well. Next Saturday, Burton Albion at home. Please do feel free to come along. There is a bit of a pub run for Marcus Needham next week. So please do come and show your support for Marcus and the 617. They've put a lot of good work. And Marcus was a really good bloke, and I'm sure Chris will also say that. So we're looking forward to seeing you back at home at the bank on Saturday, and up the Imps.
Up the Imps.